Yo, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's Oscar and we're back again with another video. Today is going to be a little bit of kind of, I guess, a financial or a little bit of a kind of an interesting video, because there's a thread on PCF called "Have we finally reached market saturation?" Obviously, the person who posted this thread, his name is BPT Director. I don't know, he's talking classifieds are full of nice chips, Jim lowers some prices during a sale to move chips, never been tougher to sell chips on the secondary market. Like the title says, are we at full market, or are we at market saturation point? Now, a couple of things that we can talk about obviously in this. The classifieds at the time when he posted this on Tuesday, being the 21st, classifieds were filled with some pretty nice chips. Obviously, I believe it was last week or the week before, there was like a 600 or 800 or maybe something like that TRK set with King's Crowns 5s, Riverside 25s, Money Tree 100s, New Trina 1s, and I believe there was a rack of Rusty's 25 centers or 50 centers, whatever it was. Crazy colors, crazy prices, whatever it was. I believe the King's Crowns were like 20 bucks a piece, Riverside 25s were like 20 to 25 bucks a piece, Money Tree 100s were 100 bucks a piece, and the whole set itself was like 12 grand or something like that. Obviously, I get it's a TRK set. TRK sets are getting quite hard to build, especially nice ones nowadays. But I mean, it gets to a point where obviously these sets that have been sitting and bought probably for pretty cheap prices, probably let's say 4 or 5 years ago, and let's say, I guess we could say primarily TRKs as to what I pay attention to, they're getting expensive. TRKs are not cheap anymore. I've spoken about it with Emilio plenty of times. I'm sure plenty of people know who Emilio is. Me and him had talked about TRKs being like the Ferrari of chips, or something like one of these higher luxury brands. Obviously, you have Paulson. Paulson makes chips. Paulson made chips for the home markets for years. TRK made chips for the home market for years. So did these other brands like Bud Jones and everything else. TRK just used to do it differently. TRK, obviously, small crown, large crown. You had chips that had lead in them that were weighing upwards of 12 grams a chip. I have some from the Lappalainen. They're weighing, I believe it's like 11.4, almost 12.1 grams a chip, which is almost unheard of. These things sparkle in the light if you really look at them. Paulson has made some insanely heavy chips. I have felt some, and I mean, leaded chips on their own are insane. Leaded chips in general. I know there's a thread on PCF that got posted, was it yesterday or the day before? What's the allure of leaded chips? These are new people getting into the hobby that have really no idea what they're looking at, and they want to learn. So you obviously get to learn what the difference between leaded and unleaded chips is pretty quickly. Leaded chips being anywhere from above, let's say, 9.5 to 10 grams a chip. Somewhere around there. Unleaded chips being anywhere below, let's say, 9.2 or somewhere around there, because actual casino weight chips are 10 grams a chip. Nowadays, most chips since 2006 have 0% lead in them, or just the ever so slight bit, but most of them 0%. Even before 2006, there were specific colors that used to have more lead in them than other ones, meaning that they were more desirable, especially in today's market. And the same thing goes for different colors. Blaze orange, day green, peach, arc yellow, and all this stuff, those are much more higher on the I guess want list or want ladder than something like royal blue or dolphin blue or some plum. Nobody's gonna want really plum chips unless you really have a desire or want to use the plum chips. Most people, if they're going to be choosing chips, they're going to want something like arc yellow or blaze orange that really stands out, and it's going to make their chip set, you know, that much more grand. I believe Jim or Chip Room just had a sale of some roulette chips. The blaze chips and the arc yellow, I think an arc yellow rack sold for somewhere around 800 or 900 bucks for one single rack of I Love Capri roulette chips that literally just had the inlay. People really just wanted it for the color of the chips. Same thing goes for like Union Plaza 25 centers or Riverside 25 centers. as far as Arc Yellow goes. There's Mahoney Silver Nuggets and all that stuff. Blaze Orange, we're talking Money Tree Ones. The list goes on and on about all these chips that could be used, or let's say that were able to be found in quantity back in the day, sold by the racks, and nowadays you don't see them that often. Money Tree Ones I haven't seen listed on PCF in, probably years. Ever since I probably hopped on PCF, I don't think I remember seeing Money Tree Ones or racks of them for quite some time. So, I mean, have we reached market saturation? To me, I don't think so. I think we are in a, how would I say? I think we're in a hyper-inflated situation right now, especially because there was the recent release of the Tiger Palace chips, which I haven't made a video about yet, but it's been probably about a month or two since those were released. I'll definitely have to make a video about those because I know there's probably a bunch of people on chipboard and a bunch of the older people that have no idea what the Tiger Palace chips are. So I'll definitely have to make a video about that. Same thing, I made a video about the Royal Princess chips. Originally, when I made the video, I had no idea what they were. I very quickly learned by the help of some people on PCF that kind of straightened things up with me. But Tiger Palace chips, I definitely need to make a video about that because those are some insane looking chips. And prices of those things are insane. So we're talking upwards of $1,200 a rack for a rack of 5s. These chips that weren't even, they're not even real chips. They're fantasy chips that were made, but they're not even real. They're selling upwards from $1,000 to $1,200 a rack, which is absolutely ludicrous, thinking that most people who are buying chips, obviously you want to buy chips that have pretty colors on them. For example, if somebody had the opportunity to grab a rack of Binion's Horseshoe 5s that were used in the WSOP, or even the 25s, you're going to be paying a premium for those chips. Same thing goes if there's a rack of Oceanside 5s that was to pop up. I'm sure a rack of Oceanside 5s would easily bring upwards of $900 a rack if they were in nice shape. I'm sure somebody out there has a rack or 2 or 3 or 4 of those, and they're just sitting on them. Either that or they have an Oceanside set, they're not going to sell it anytime soon. But as far as that goes, I don't think we're in a, I don't think we've reached market saturation. I think we're definitely in a hyper-inflated situation right now. As far as pricing goes, there is absolutely insane pricing across the board on PCF primarily. I know there was also a rack of Fitzgerald's 5s and 25s listed on the chipboard. I think it was yesterday or Monday or whatever day it was. It was a best offer until Wednesday or whatever day it was. I'm scared to know what those 2 racks for went, because I know there's people that are willing to pay insane amount of money just to have hot stamp chips that look beautiful. Doesn't matter where they're from, as long as it has the colors. Something like the Reno Ramada NCV chips. Insane looking chips. Probably back in the day, I'm not sure how much they used to sell for, but I know nowadays those are hot chips. Same thing goes for like Riverboat 100s and everything else. Same thing goes for like Bellagio first edition chips. People are paying absolutely ludicrous prices just to have a 10 and a 20, let alone a 25 and 100. I'm sure 100 is easily going to go for more than $300 or $400. The 25s are going upwards of 200, 250, and some, let's say a mint condition 20 will go upwards of 200 nowadays too. Absolutely insane pricing, and I think a majority of that has to do, obviously, people stayed home when lockdowns were happening. People had a lot of free time. They were trying to figure out new hobbies, and people found chip collecting and chipping, and they just wanted to get into it. They saw what people were paying, and then it became a kind of snowball effect where people were paying more than this person, we're paying more than this person, and we're going to keep going and going and going until some person taps out because there's just a desire to get these chips that, obviously you can't get anywhere else. Obviously, there's still plenty of options for chips that look good. There's plenty of options for chips in quantity. You just have to talk to the right people. You have to get creative with this stuff, and you can't go chasing after the same thing that 20 or 50 other people are after. And a majority of those people are after the newest, best thing. If you go and talk to the right people, trying to figure out where you can get said chips, or let's say you're trying to build a hot stamp set, there's tons of hot stamp options out there for cheap. You can find them, you can talk to the right people, you can easily build a set of 1s, 5s, 25s. Barrel of hot stamp 100s, or let's say a rack of hot stamp 100s, might be a little bit of a struggle. 1s, 5s, 25s nowadays is pretty simple. The 5s a little bit harder, obviously, because most people use 5s in their cash sets, but 1s and 25s, absolutely not an issue at all. So if people say we're gonna reach, or if we've reached market saturation, that can be their idea. I'm gonna go on a whim and say that we've reached a hyper-inflated, obviously, section or you know, place in the chip market or chip hobby. So there's tons of options for different sets, or let's say something like that. If somebody wanted to go out there and build a set, they can definitely do it. You just have to have, like I said, you have to go to talk to the right people, have a plan in mind, and then you can move on from there. Can't go chasing the same sets or the same chips that 15, 20 other people are after, and think you're gonna come out on top, because next thing you know, you're gonna have a set that everyone else has. In my opinion, I'd much rather have a set that's one of a kind, and something that, let's say if you were to show it to somebody, or you want to play with a group of buddies, they'd be more impressed to play with that set than say, oh, this guy has a set that 15 or 20 other people have. So as far as, let's say, market saturation and the current chip market, that's my idea. Obviously, things can change overnight. There's tons and tons and tons of chips being sold and bought constantly. Obviously on eBay, PCF, and all over the world. So there is quite a, it's an interesting world, but definitely still a very, very fun world. I still have the same feeling I had when I first got into it about 3 years ago, or whatever it is now. It's just crazy to see what's happened with lockdowns and people getting into the hobby, new people with more money getting into it. And then obviously there's, you know, people with all kinds of different, income statuses. There's people down here, there's people all the way up here. Just depends on who you are and what chips you're buying. That definitely has a big increase on whether or not chips are going to be more expensive or chips are going to be more cheaper. So just wanted to kind of spill my brains on that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Kind of a little bit of a different one, but something that people can definitely talk about if they wanted to. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you have any comments, put those down below. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.